This is Karen Johnson with another in our interviews from the Proctor Historical Committee. Today is March 11th, 2014, and today we're going to interview Betty Barlyn, who is an extraordinary volunteer at Proctor's. And Betty, you've been a volunteer here for a long time. Do you remember how you got started?
Yes, I do. Day Gillespie and Helen George got me to volunteer. This was in, about 85 or 86. And eventually, I was put on the board here at Proctor's, and we were the board that voted ourselves out of our position so that we could bring in a business board, because Proctor's had grown by then from a community effort to an entity that needed more business acumen than the community board had. But it was a wonderful experience. Kay Rosendahl was on that board too.
Well, there were an awful lot of people that were hardworking, and when we had the community board, if you were a board member, you had to work.
Absolutely.
And what did you do? Did you help with fundraisers or?
Well, the first job, Karen, that I had was to help straighten out Dennis Madden's office. And
Going right to the top.
Yeah, right to the top. And from there, I got involved with the Friends of Proctor's, which was led by Helen George and Day Gillespie. And I remember our first meeting was on stage. And later on, because I had done some fundraising here, I was asked to start the guild. Well, it wasn't called the guild. It was basically to get a group of women together who loved Proctor's, who loved the theater, and who'd be willing to act as ambassadors for the theater, to act as hosts and do fundraising. And basically, that's how I got very involved in Proctor's. And the guild started in 1990, and I was the first president. So I'm really old.
Well, you're enduring is what I would say.
Enduring. Okay, thank you, Karen. I appreciate that.
Because you still have a lot of energy and you continue to be involved with the guild, which we can talk about a little later.
Okay.
Let's just step back and talk about how much you love the theater, because it is an absolutely wonderful thing.
Not only is it the thing that I love in Schenectady the best, besides the family, is I started going to the theater when I was 7 years old. My parents started taking me then. We lived near Philadelphia. And I worked for my husband when we came up here, but I always was drawn to the theater. And I don't remember the first shows that I went to here. But that's how.
Because there's so many, may I say.
And it's been a long time, Karen.
Because you've also been a wonderful customer here.
Yes. Well,
though I do notice that you have them keep your tickets here so that they never get.
Well,
so
Karen,
you can come to any show and your tickets will be here.
That's exactly right. And they keep me. They keep in touch with me to make sure that I know now when to come in.
Okay.
So I'm happy.
Well, the Guild, starting in 1980, and I know at that
90,
and Gloria Lemaire was the executive director at that time, and was very interested in creating this organization. And do you know how many people? It was kind of by invitation in the beginning.
Well, this Friends of Proctor's had already been started, but then when Dennis Madden, it was after Dennis. But who was the interim? He was only here for a year.
Don Shane.
Don Shane. And there was so much movement in the administrative part of the theater, nobody knew whether this, quote, guild would continue. So I remember having a meeting at my house. And basically, the people who were called because either they had an interest in the theater or had ability for fundraising, which is basically what we wanted to do.
So the guild fundraising was mostly to be through events, special events
Exactly. And yes, because we didn't have the guild room yet.
management? Okay, so tell me about a great fundraising event that you did.
All right. Probably there are a number, but the first one was George Burns. It was the city's 200th birthday. Were you mayor
Yes.
then? Okay. So the city wanted to celebrate with Proctors. So they got George Burns to come because it was going to be his birthday. Now, this is the first big event I had ever done. So I was very excited, and I had no idea of what to do. However, I went crazy. It was the first time we sold the pit, 2 seats for $1,000. Never been done before. But what I had arranged was George Burns to have a private party with this group directly after the performance. So it was wonderful. He came, and he walked off the plane, because I picked him up. He walked off the plane, and I thought, oh, my God, we have all these people coming, and this little old man is going to be up on stage. He was very frail, and he walked up.
He's going to be 90, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. And then we got him over to the Americana, and he invited me for dinner. I had the best time of my life that night, shared a shrimp cocktail with him. Then the next day at Proctor's, which we had decorated, the lottery building was not done. It was incomplete. But what we did, we took pictures of George Burns, and just decorated the whole
Space.
yeah. And instead of doing a formal dinner, we did a delicatessen dinner, like a New York dinner. And I called Lindy's down in New York. I said, it's George's 90th birthday, and we're having a party up here. Will you send cheesecake? And they did.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was...
See, you're pretty brave, you know.
Well, I didn't know any better. I mean, they could only say no.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
So...
So we all got dressed up and had the party.
Had the party. He came on stage. Karen, it was like he became a different person. He had so much, he was ebullient. He was just fabulous on stage. People loved it. Then the audience went over to the lottery and had their cheesecake. We had our party, and
it was a big success.
it was. It worked out beautifully. And I had so much fun, so that's where I began to do this.
You know what I remember about that event?
What?
When we were all on stage afterwards, there were a couple cigar butts sitting around, and people were trying to claim them as a souvenir.
Okay, yeah.
And also, Mr. Bill Golub, who loved
Really?
jokes more than anything in the world, wanted to get in a duel with George Burns on Top My Joke. And George, he wasn't having any of it.
No. He was his
He'd
own
done
person.
His thing,
Yeah.
and so, but it was cute, and it was a very friendly, warm, nice.
That's right.
Of a lot of people who've now become very important supporters of the theater,
Absolutely.
which is
Absolutely.
great. Well, you must have had some more parties that were pretty interesting.
Actually, this is to bring it up to the. Well, I'll tell you the things that we had. We had luncheons for the Guild. And I remember we had Kitty Carlisle Hart, we had Celeste Holm. And basically, these luncheons were for people the Guild, to learn more about the theater, not just Proctors. And that, to me, was very important, that we learned as much as we could, and how important not only the cast was, but the crew. And we had, oh, she's going to kill me. The woman from Cap Rep, Maggie. Maggie
Okay.
came over for a luncheon and told us how a play is produced and so forth. And it was,
You had a lot of those, and they were excellent.
yeah, and I thought that was important too, because that's what made it fun for me.
Now, at a certain point, you actually went to work for Proctors, selling advertising and corporate sponsorships.
Well,
Did you have any adventures in that
oh,
area?
did I have adventures? Gloria brought me into her office. This was after the George Burns, and she said to me, "I want you to be our director of corporate sponsorship." I said, "What are you talking about? I'm 49 years old. You don't have to listen to that. I'm 49 years old. I've just, she said, "You can do it." And the reason I took it is because I love the theater so much. I knew it would be an easy sell for me.
Mm-hmm.
However, my first customer happened to be the president of Key Bank back then. Do you remember his name? He was president of another bank after that, but anyway, okay. And we go up into the officers' dining room, and he has a couple of vice presidents there. And I start my spiel, okay? And I notice, when you're nervous, how your voice kind of gets a little shaky. I said to myself, if you aren't yourself when you do this, it's not going to work. So I stopped, and I said, "Mr. X," who was the president, I said, "Please be gentle with me. You're my first." So that's how I started my career. And
Did he give you any money?
you bet he did. God bless him. And actually,
Okay.
we've had a relationship with Key Bank
Ever
since that time.
So you broke the ice, so to speak.
Well, let's put it that way, yes. But I have the other part of that story is now, I didn't know my way around Albany very much, and I had this 7:30 appointment. So I hired a car to take me, but I told him, don't park anywhere near the bank because I don't want them to know that I have enough money to have a chauffeur drive me over.
Yes.
So that was my first
That's a good adventure. Did you have any other adventures or
that I
nothing,
can tell you.
Nothing you can tell me about else?
Nothing, but let me tell you that I have met so many wonderful people in business here in the Capital District. We are lucky to have so many people who are willing to support Proctors. And it was easy for me because, as I said, I loved it. And then I would also set up little parties afterwards with a cast for the company. And so they got the benefits of the advertising, they got the benefits of being an insider. And I would say most of those people, I think I worked here 10 or 12 years as the director. And
Well, Betty, when I've been backstage, when you're there, most people go backstage and they're here with this star and they don't know what to do. And you come in the room and it just lights up and everyone figures, well, of course I'm supposed to be here. Let's have a nice conversation
That's
with this person. They're just regular people.
that's what we found out. They don't want it stiff and formal. Just talk about yourself. Everybody talk about it. And what's even more fun is by then I also knew the backstage crew. And I've got to tell you, having known the backstage crew for all these years, they are fabulous. And
So they helped you with these
Always.
little meetings?
that's right.
I think people may not be aware, but usually you have to arrange them kind of at the last minute because the press people can say that they'll do them, but until they actually get into the theater,
you don't know whether they're
you're
going to.
not sure whether they're going to until you see
But
their
I'm-
manager.
Yeah, but I made pretty sure that, especially if it was a large sponsor, that
So
I'd
are
be
there
after.
any stars you've met here that you must have met hundreds.
I have been lucky. I have met well, I can't remember anybody's name, but the dancer, I can't remember his name, but it was wonderful. It's been
Like
so
Edward
informal.
Villela?
No, I know.
He was here
I know, but
at one of our parties, actually.
but I don't remember which stars I met. But it's been a lot.
We ought to have a project for you to sit and try and recall some of those, because I bet they'll come back to you as you think about it.
Yeah, well,
It's
right.
really wonderful. Well, you're still working in the Guild, and you're the inventor of something quite interesting,
The Taste of Home?
the Taste of Home program. So what is that about?
Okay. I love the cast, but I also love the crew. So what we've done is for the shows that are here for about a week, the women in the Guild cook or make salads and desserts, and we bring in sandwiches.
Homemade.
Everything but the sandwiches, but everything else is homemade, dessert and salads. And they love it. We invite the cast and crew, and we talk, the Guild comes, bring their stuff. It's just so informal. You learn about their lives, where they're from, whether their mother and father thought it was a good idea for them to get into theater or not. It gives you an insider's look at their lives. And as I tell them, the reason we do this, without the actors and without the crew, there is no theater. So we're very grateful to have them here.
And they express a great deal of appreciation for this, the friendliness plus the food, because when
Right,
you're eating
what
in
else can you
hotels,
ask for?
because I noticed one was you even had to-go packages for
Yes,
them to take back to their hotel room.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's a time when they can relax, but it's a time for the Guild also to just interact. I've had the mayor come to talk to them, and eventually he gave them at one of the performances a key to the city. And what we've heard is that a cast will come in and say they've heard from other shows and cast members about this, A Taste of Home.
Well, that's great, and I think what I'm hearing is that on the road, we're considered to be a great place to come, at the
That's what we want.
hospitality. And, since now you just love theater, so you love theater and you love Proctors, so you get to do all of this.
Proctors has been a gift to me. I'm also have kind of adopted Schenectady as my hometown. I'm from Haddonfield, New Jersey, but when my husband came up here to practice, I became involved in the community, and it's been wonderful to me, to my family, and Proctors is my second family, to be honest with you. I mean, I remember you coming not looking for a job. I figured you had one then. But they had asked you to work at Proctors, and you asked. And there are a lot of the people who are still working at Proctors, and I've been to their weddings, seen their kid, it's just been wonderful. So it has been a second family.
And you
me.
have either around 25 years of supporting this institution.
Over.
We haven't quite started.
That's why I can't remember 25 years ago. I can't remember.
Well, that's a long time, and they don't tell us to take notes.
No,
That's the problem.
that's right.
But Betty, you've given a lot of energy to Proctors, and people have fun when they're around you, and that helps. That helps all of us do our hard work.
No, but it is, for me, it is such a joy. Can I go back a little bit to the Guild? I remember when the Lawrences were building Lenrock, and their decorator was Carlton Varney, who had also done the official vice president's home in Washington, D.C. He was their decorator. And we were starting the Guild room then. So I asked Mrs. Lawrence if we could use him, or she offered him. And he came, he decorated the guild room. He got chandeliers from Mackinac Island up in Michigan and brought them to the guild room for us. It was an exciting experience having him here. I mean, he's world renowned. He was with the Dorothy Draper company in New York. And I remember the night that we opened the guild room. We had the red carpet and we had the spotlights, you know, when people come in. But I remember in the afternoon going with him to Carl Company to look for the right color tablecloths to put on the tables for the night's event.
And you found them, apparently.
Of course we did. You know, we found anything. But that was wonderful getting the guild room started too.
Right. Well, Betty, thank you so much for being here today. This is another edition of the Schenectady Proctors Historical Committee series. We're on March 11th, 2014, and we thank you for watching.
And it's been a delight to be here and to be with you, an old friend.
Thanks,
Not
Betty.
old friend, but
No,
yeah.
both ways.
Both ways, yeah. Thank you, Karen. And thank you, Proctors.